Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Spooky Mountain. You have Jordi and you have Steph.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. We hope that everyone is not melting into a puddle of sweat just like we are right now. But
I think a lot of people are freezing.
because they're in other countries like America, they've got heaps of snow at the moment.
I know.
Got like a proper like winter snap.
Complete opposite to us.
I would kill for some snow. I would fucking kill for some snow. I would rub it all over myself like
Yeah.
I was in a B grade snow porno or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good. I know. It's always when it's really cold, I just crave the sun. And then when it's hot, I'm like, I cannot deal with this anymore. My brain has stopped working.
I know. I don't deal well with the heat at all.
Oh.
Like, if it's over like 21 degrees, I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
I'm melting. I
can function in the heat. It's just the humidity for me where I don't like sweating. I love dry heat. I love the sun. I tend to accidentally cook myself every day just in the garden and you know, whatever. But
dry heat, actually think I do a little bit worse in the dry heat than I do like the humid heat. I went to Texas once.
Really?
And I have never, went to Texas. It was just a very quick little stopover, and I have never experienced dry heat like I have in Texas. It was horrific. I've never felt anything like it. I instantly had all the moisture just be sucked out of my body the second I stepped outside. It was shit. Yeah.
Does it get as hot in Texas as in Australia? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. This was the heat that I felt in Texas was similar to some of the hottest days that I've felt.
Wow.
Yeah, very fucking hot. Anyway, we're not a temperature podcast. We're a paranormal podcast.
Spooky temperature podcast.
Spooky temperature. What do you have for this week?
Oh, okay. Well, I've tried to make it as consumable as possible, but I'm talking about a time traveler.
Ooh.
Yes. There is such an interesting story. It's a very, very well-known person I'll be talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, it's broken down into so many things. So I've really tried to make this as compact as I can without taking out too much.
Nice. It's one of those heavy information stories. Yeah.
It's one of those ones where if you haven't heard of it, you're like, I need more. And then you just,
ooh,
I will take you to the places where you can get more information because it is
cool. I don't know if I've heard this because I'm the only time traveling thing that I'm aware of is the man from Torrid.
Okay.
But that's not even time. We don't even know what that was.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to love this then because, it's great. And what about you?
So mine is quite a dark one.
Love it.
It's a cryptid / monster thing. Oh, yeah. Very, very mean. We don't like this guy.
A mean. Oh, my God.
A mean one. Yeah.
A
I'm
mean
very
man.
excited.
Ooh.
A mean boy. Very mean boy this week.
All right. I have no fucking idea. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's start off the episode with some lovely reviews, and you know how much we love our reviews. Let's start off with Adrian. So Adrian actually bought us a beer. So this is an option we have. We can buy us a beer or a coffee. And left an amazing review. Jordi and Steph are just the best. This podcast oscillates randomly between hilarious, terrifying, and comforting in every episode so far. You guys have been with me in the bath with a glass of red wine in lockdown. You've been a cheeky episode in between stressful exam periods. You've now talked me up and down the highway of most of the east coast of Australia, and now I'm always watching out for roadside yowies along the way. The binge ability is strong, and you're just getting started. Thank you for keeping me in good company and for keeping us curious.
Adrian, thank you so much. So Adrian is a very good friend of the podcast, and she actually told us not long ago that we've inspired her to one day in the not so distant future to start her own podcast. So
That's so cool.
once she does that, we'll definitely be promoting. What's the word? Not promoting.
Well, yeah, I guess shouting out.
there.
Yeah.
Shouting out. So
That's awesome. I mean, that's how it happens. I mean, yeah,
Yep,
listening to
yep.
other smaller ones starting to kick off, and you're like, I could do that. I could do that.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks, Adrian. And we have a 5-star review from Joey Nimrod Metal. And Joey Nimrod Metal said, great podcast. Discovered it on the Creeps and Peepers Facebook. Love the accents and the storytelling and the conversations they have. And so the Creeps and Peepers Facebook is actually a group that I'm in, and it's the Facebook group that was created for another podcast called Scared to Death, which is one of my favorite podcasts. So
Yeah.
if you haven't listened to that, go listen to those guys. It's Dan Cummins and Lindsay Cummins. They're like a married couple, and they just talk about like the craziest shit. So yeah, thanks for that review.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Appreciate that one.
We had another patron sign up. Wonderful Tony. Tony has been with us since the very beginning. And if you'll remember, he shared the amazing Yowie story that he encountered.
Yeah, the Wadigans Yowie.
The Wadigans Yowie. Yeah. So that's so awesome, Tony. Thank you so much for signing up. That's really awesome that you're supporting us.
Yeah, so the Wadigans, probably the Wadigans Yowie episode was probably one of my favorite episodes. It was episode number 5, if anyone is...
Wow, was it episode number 5?
Number 5.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so a while ago, but Tony is like a super awesome fan of the podcast. He's also a mate of mine, and yeah, he's a top bloke. So that's our housekeeping done. I now have to have a bitch session.
Oh my God, please. Okay, offload it on me.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So my house for the past week has been a COVID house. My partner was COVID positive about 6-7 days ago, and today is the first day that we broke out of isolation.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I have not had such a hard week in a very long time. It's been so shit. He was so sick. He was like, I thought he was going to cark it on the first day.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to die. He was so sick.
Was it heaps of coughing, or was it just like full flu symptoms? Like,
yeah, he didn't really get the coughing as much until maybe like day 4 or 5.
Right.
And just like very, very light coughing. It wasn't hardcore. But I think like his worst symptom was like the flu, kind of fluish, like fever and chills, a really high temperature. But he also had his belly was really unwell. He couldn't keep down any water or any food. He was vomiting and just sweating, and
oh my God.
yeah, his taste buds were making him sick. He couldn't
Oh, wow.
like, it was his stomach, but it was also his taste buds. Everything tasted too horrible, and he would try and eat something and he would just throw it up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
So
disgusting.
really fun week.
Really fun week. He's been locked in the bedroom. I literally put him in the bedroom and I locked him in there, and
Slide food under the door.
Yeah. Been sliding shit under the door, and so our bedroom is attached to a bathroom.
Oh, that's lucky, yeah.
So he's had the bathroom. I've been cooking all the meals, looking after the baby, doing all the things until today. And
Oh my God.
How
many drinks do you have next to you right now?
I have 4 drinks next to me. I've got 4 drinks. Okay, I don't usually have this many drinks. Everyone,
okay.
all right? Please do not think badly of me, but I have a Baileys. I have a wine.
Yeah.
I have an apple juice
Yeah.
for hydration.
Got it. That makes sense.
And I have an apple cider. So
Oh my God, that's amazing.
it's been a really hard week, okay?
So funny. I love that. I love that for you. That's great.
Thank you. Well, I mean, as long as I'm hydrated, I've got apple juice, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You need it. It's all good. Oh, that's great. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
Good
it's
to be out of
been-
lockdown. Fucking hell. Still going all right. We
Yep.
we went to our like first little, there was like the lunar New Year festival kind of thing. And down near we've got like a really big Asian community where we live. So yeah, our local street kind of town area did a little food festival, like a night market thing. And we're like, okay, cool, let's go down there on Friday. Yeah, we'll go and have some dinner. Really keen for like really good like Asian food. They said there's going to be heaps of, food stalls and shit. And we get there and it's not even Asian food. And I'm like, what do you mean? They had like, the gozleme, the donuts, hot dogs. And I was like, so it's all generic. So I was like, what do you mean? This is like a Chinese New Year.
It's like the perfect opportunity to have the most beautiful fucking like Chinese food.
They made it look beautiful. There was really nice lanterns everywhere. They had all these really cool like artworks on the ground. It was really nice. But yeah, the food just like completely threw it off. The only Asian thing we could find was an Asian Mexican fusion thing and then a one with the dumplings, and I was like, okay, this is so weird, and I just got super thrown off. And then Dylan's like, I'm not hungry anymore, let's just go home. And I was like, don't be like that. And I was like, Dylan, we walked here. Then
no, because there's nothing more disappointing than not getting the food that you're expecting.
When he's got his mind set for the food and he doesn't get it, he literally was so grumpy. I ended up getting gozleme, and then I ate fucking 12 little mini donuts with Nutella on it, all to myself. And he sat there.
So Chinese of you.
It's so Chinese of me. And I sat there, and we just watched me eat heaps sad. And I was like, please just have one donut. And he goes, fine. And then he ate one. He's like, I want to get McDonald's. I was like, oh my God, don't do this to me.
Did the donut cheer him up at all? Or just made him even more sad?
No, the donut made him sad because a lot of stuff, he can't eat dairy. So there's so much stuff he couldn't eat. So that he loves Asian food because he can hardly have dairy in anything. So
Right. So he was let down.
He was very let down. Yeah, and I'm let down in the community, I was like, why is the council allowing this to happen? I was really excited. But anyway.
Because your area is full of like beautiful restaurants and
oh my God,
fully authentic, fantastic food. It's very strange that
strange to me. Yeah, I was like, no question, there's going to be hectic Asian food there. And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I like those those prawn in the rice noodle. They're like flat rice noodle with prawns. Yeah. Oh my God, I don't even know what the fuck they're called, but they're so hectic. I was just like, had that in my mind's eye while I was walking there.
Yeah.
And then we got to the dumpling stall and they're like, we're sold out of all dumplings except for one. And I was like, what do you fucking mean?
So even all the dumplings were sold out because everyone is like, this is the only Asian food that exists at this festival.
It was so fucked up.
Well, that's very disappointing. I've been living off toast for the past 7 days.
Do you have groceries? Like, can you even get groceries delivered to where you are? Like, how did...
Yeah. We got like one delivery, like big grocery delivery, but I just didn't know what to order. So I just ordered shit that didn't make sense, and I didn't really get enough stuff for dinner. And we just ordered like a shitload of bread, and we kind of figured that because like Phil's taste buds couldn't really handle too much else, and I didn't have the energy to cook anything else other than toast, really. So
beans on toast.
Oh, yes. Actually, funny story. So for everyone listening out there, before Steph and I were a podcast, Steph used to be my coffee lady. Years ago, Steph used to make my coffee at a fantastic cafe, and your cafe used to sell these like bean toasties with cheese.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Pretty much at least once a week, I make bean and cheese toasties.
Do you?
Now. Yeah, because I never had it until I had it from your cafe, and ever since I've just been like addicted to them. I make them all the time.
Oh my God, that's so good. So yeah, I used to work at this cafe, but we kind of specialized in jaffles. So we call them jaffles, but it's like, it's a toasted sandwich, put in a toasted sandwich press, but it's closed around the edges. So it's like a pocket in the middle.
Yes.
But my favorite one that I used to make myself, which wasn't on the menu, it was chorizo, mozzarella, caramelized onion, and chipotle mayo.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so fucking hungry. I went out to a cafe the other day with a mate and I ordered a toasty and I was so hungry and I was fucking so ready for this toasty, for this jaffle. It came out. It was the shittest toasty I've ever had in my life. It was mushrooms with like this white sauce.
Oh, sauce?
It was, yes, it was, and like a bit of cheese, and that's it. It was, fucking, yeah, it wasn't good. Anyway, again, we're not a Jaffle podcast, we're a paranormal
Spooky
podcast.
Jaffle podcast.
I'm really just wanting to hear your story, so.
All right, cool. Yeah. I'm excited
get
to
into
tell and get this fucking information out because...
Yeah, get it out of you.
Oh, all right. So, as I said, I'm going to be talking about a very interesting character. I've actually been wanting to talk about this person since we started. This was probably the first person I wrote down in my characters little column that I've got here.
It feels good to get out those first few planned ideas.
Feels really good. So this is all about John Titor or Titor. I don't know how people say it. Everyone says his name differently, but no one really knows. I'm going to say Titor because it sounds more easier for me to say. So John Titor, he claimed to be a time traveler from 2036. He made some vague and some very specific predictions of the future. No one has ever met him or spoken to him over the phone. No one's actually seen him. No one knows what he looks like. This was all done over the internet. So people fell very deep into his story while others were pointing out holes and contradictions. All the while, investigations and digital detectives were watching everything he did for nearly 20 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So this is like a proper legit thing. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, because I know, like, now we're seeing all these people, like, TikToker posts photo of the future and says this is, like, OG time. Yeah.
Whole different
Fuck
level.
those, TikToker time travel. I don't believe those. Who knows? I don't know if I believe in this, but, you know, it's interesting. So, the first time we're going to hear about this character, he was on Coast to Coast AM, so hosted by Art Bell. So if you don't know what this is, it's the OG for paranormal heist strangers radio. It's kind of like the first spooky podcast, if you will. It would attract some very interesting characters that would call in to tell their experiences, stories, and opinions. And one night on July 29th, 1998, during a live show, Art Bell received an anonymous fax, which we haven't heard that word in a while.
Fax.
Oh, yeah, he got a fax.
Spooky.
Yeah. So when he got the fax, he read it out live on his show. The anonymous person claimed to contact him as he had been listening to the show recently and heard other time travelers coming forward. He mentioned he was also a time traveler, and he mentioned some things about his time machine and the fact that the other time travelers were fake due to the fact no one can come to the past from 2564. So 2564. So no one can come from further that point because he's already tried, he said. So he followed up by saying in 6 years' time, there will be something called CERN, S-E-R-N, that will be able to create 2 mini black holes so they can travel in time. He made other predictions saying that Y2K is a disaster because at this point...
CERN is a thing, right?
It is now. Yeah.
Yeah, CERN's a thing.
Yes, C-E-R-N. But this was S-E-R-N, but it does become a thing.
Okay, right.
So this is beforehand, yeah. Yes, so there are some elements that are a little bit on point.
Yes.
But yeah, also it's 2 years before the whole Y2K thing. So he does pick up on that and he's telling everyone, no, this is going to be a disaster.
Okay.
And that during that time, many people will freeze to death on the highways trying to get to warmer weather as all the grids will shut down amongst a mass blackout. Following this, martial law will follow and then the government will collapse. His final predictions are that China will take over Taiwan, Israel wins its largest battle ever, and Russia is covered in nuclear snow.
Okay.
Having all of this live on air caused a lot of intrigue from listeners, but they had nothing else to go off during this time, as nothing else was heard of him. There was no books. They didn't have a name for this person. It was anonymous. There's no reference for anything to follow up on. And it wasn't really a time of the internet. Like, there's nothing. They're just like, what the fuck? Okay.
What is this? Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was it. Now we're going to fast forward a couple years to a time that most of us remember well, the year 2000, when the fear of Y2K was done and dusted. Sydney hosted the Olympics. Pop music, R&B were in its prime, horrible fashion flashbacks, and of course that wonderful noise of your modem connecting to the internet that we can all remember very well.
Screeching.
Yeah. So the 2000s was a time people were really starting to explore the internet and find out what their online presence will be. People created videos on eBaum's World, deviant art was created, and instant messages.
Oh my god, the nostalgia.
And instant messaging. We're all finding new ways to connect to people on the internet. Yeah, MSN, you know. You speak to your friends, but also you made so many new friends across the world. That, I mean,
Yes.
who the fuck are they? But yeah, let's chat. Like,
Why not?
literally being a 12-year-old and just chatting with friendos. It's such a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, we didn't have a great sense of stranger danger.
Not at all. Not at all. So, yeah, and you could go on online forums as well, read opinions, blog posts discussing any topic. It was all starting to appear in the 2000s. So on the 2nd of November 2000, he reappears under the name Time Travel _0, which would later be the name John Titor. Or Titor. I'm going to fucking keep saying Titor because everyone else has said Titor, but I'm saying Titor because it sounds more natural, but now I'm saying Titor.
You do you. Whatever feels right in the moment.
Whew. Okay, so he wrote a post on the Time Travel Institute forums, and also there was an Art Bell forums. That's the Coast to Coast AM forum that they had. And his very first post was the following. Greetings. I am a time traveler from the year 2036. I am on the way home from getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass, temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two top spin dual positive singularities that produce a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. I am happy to post pictures of the unit.
Woo!
I know, so I'm sounding very intelligent here, but I have no idea what's going on.
Yes, you are.
So let's break it down. And also to add from his many other posts as well, because there's quite a few that came after this. So pretty much he's claiming that he is coming from 2036 as a computer virus very similar to Y2K would appear throughout the world. Now, he was on a mission to recover a computer from 1975, more specifically, an IBM 5100. During the time of him writing these blogs, he had already collected that computer from 1975 and he's taking it back or forwards to 2036 to get rid of that virus. So I know there's a bit of I'm really gonna. I hope we're all on the same page. Yeah. So
break it down for us.
I know we'll get there. So he would then continue to write all his posts on the Art Bell forums exclusively. So it's all in the one forum, so people can find all of this easily. All these posts would continue up until March 2001. Along with that first post, he absolutely shared some of those pictures that he mentioned.
Oh, he did.
Which was of the time machine.
Okay.
Yes. So he was mentioning the time machine. He definitely posted photos of all of it. To this day, those pictures can still not be disproven of what he's posted.
Wow, that's very
And they
strange.
will be added, so for everyone to
Fantastic.
see. Yeah,
Okay.
because they exist. Now, this entire device, so the time machine, was actually installed in the back of a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette convertible, later being moved to a 1987 truck.
Okay.
So, because it was super heavy, and apparently he couldn't lug it around, so it literally was just in the boot of a car. He claimed that the time machine would operate by using too many black holes. Stephen Hawking during this time stated that this is impossible. However, 4 years later, he would retract that theory.
Oh, no fucking way. That's big.
Yes. Yeah. There's articles on that. It's crazy. So the time machine was described as having the following. So let's see if we all know what the fuck I'm talking about. 2 magnetic housing units for the dual micro singularities. Okay. An electron injection manifold to alter mass and gravity microsingularities. A cooling and X-ray venting system. Makes a little bit more sense, I think. Gravity sensors or a variable gravity lock. Okay.
Okay.
4 main cesium clocks. 4 main cesium clocks. Cesium. And 3 main computer units. So this is what
I know what a computer is.
Yeah, I know what 3 is.
Only just though.
So this is what the time machine is. So
Of
he's
course.
very upfront with everything, which is quite impressive.
Yep.
Now, it's very hard, as you can tell, to try and summarize all these posts and everything here. So to give you an idea on how many posts there were that he actually did, there's a book written that is simply just his posts compiled together, including all the comments. So
Jesus.
it's 4 months worth of posts that he's done.
Wow. A whole book.
Yeah.
People are very invested in this
Absolutely.
thing that happened.
There's such deep lore on this character. It's insane. During the start of his posts, he would only be discussing the time machines and how they all worked. He seemed to have a lot of knowledge and confidence around this topic. And a lot of people would ask him questions on the forums, and he was more than happy to answer them all the time. He mentions in one of his posts, "The means by which I travel in time is very physical. I require a machine to do it. It weighs about 500 pounds and gets quite hot. I do not own it and I did not build it. Within limits, I will be happy to discuss how it works and how future science thinks time works." He would later begin describing more about his mission and who he was. He claimed to be an American soldier who lived in Tampa, Florida in 2036. He was assigned to a government time travel project where he would need to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer. He would then need to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. The reason why he was chosen to do this is because his grandfather was the person who assembled and programmed the 5100 computer.
Okay.
So it's got like a bit of a connection.
Mission. Yeah, okay.
So what was the IBM 5100? Why was it so important? So it was the first commercially available portable computer that was built in 1975.
Okay, so it wasn't just some random computer.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It had significance.
Yeah. It weighed 23 kilos.
Whew.
And it only cost 19.5 grand.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like much of a...
Oh, no. And it has this tiny little inbuilt monitor. It would accept micro tapes, not floppy disks. It was like some revolution. It was
Wow.
yeah. In the 70s though, which is crazy.
Yeah, so before floppy disks. Yeah, that's a pretty revolutionary for the The 70s.
That's right, yeah. And this computer ran APL, which stands for a programming language. So in the 1960s, that language, it's the best way to describe it is it uses graphics to represent its functions. So pretty much when you press something on your keyboard, it will trigger something in the computer and it knows what it means. So it's like the first kind of real computer that you can do things on. I don't know. Because like when you think of like the first computers, they were massive. They would fill like a fucking room, and it's all like ones and zeros kind of thing.
Yeah, yep.
So yeah, this old computer, it was needed to debug computers in 2036. Now that may sound a little crazy given we know what our computers can do today. It's not that uncommon. In fact, NASA had used old computers in 2002 to test rocket boosters.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. This old computer is a key technically that can reset any computer and can get it to boot up again as it can run APL. So
right. Okay. It sounds pretty
so most computers now these days, they do not run APL, which is like a very, very basic program, I guess, where it can reverse engineer any computer that fucks up. And
holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's like then, other computers started to change and become more high tech and like yeah, this is like kind of the OG of the computer that can fix anything, really.
Yeah. In a way, it's almost like powerful but quite basic.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's able to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really, really dumbing this down as well because, I mean, even a podcast couldn't explain how in depth this is, but that's pretty much the essence of this whole thing. So there is a known issue, which is real, called the year 2038 problem, which is also known as the new Y2K. So this is a legit thing.
Okay.
Now, I will also try and put this as simply as possible because I did read a lot of this and it was a little bit strange. But so as I was saying, with the computers today, they're all running on a thing called Unix time. This is it's a universal standard for timekeeping on computer.
Okay.
When you think of a computer, which is a bit strange because usually sometimes if a computer resets, you know how the very beginning of time it will say January 1st, 1970? Have you seen that before?
Yes. Yep. That's happened to me.
So if it does that, it means it's on Unix time.
Okay.
And it's something to do with negative seconds. It's on a clock base pretty much. And every computer that starts on that time will run until January 19, 2038.
No way.
And then it's run out of time. So pretty much what happens is it'll get to a formatting bug and it won't continue to work anymore and it will just hit a blue screen.
Okay. Oh, the blue screen of death.
The blue screen of death, yes. So any computer that runs on a 32-bit system will come across this. So that's a fact.
Okay.
So the 5100, as I said, is backwards compatible and with all operating systems. So that's even Mac computers, everything, and can restart any computer and get it up and running again. So that's why he's taking it there, because it's about no one's figured it out.
Hey, oh, fantastic explaining so far. It does make sense.
Okay, good. Now, I will let you know that we have actually figured out how to resolve this as of this point, because this is the early 2000s when they figured this out. But as of now, most of our computers are running 64-bit systems, which if it's running 64-bit, your computer will not encounter that issue. Okay. But yeah, if you've got an older computer, it's most likely going to be 32-bit on Unix time and it will hit the blue screen. So
blue screen of death.
Yeah. So it's just something that is a real thing. Now, Titor would actually mention things about the 5100 as well. That was not described publicly at all by the people working at IBM. They would not no one knew about this information, and he would just straight up say this in his posts.
Fucking hell.
A lot of people would think like, oh, he's probably just a computer scientist or he works for IBM. But also did give the impression that, oh, yeah, maybe he's a time traveler and he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw things around a bit. Now, you may also be thinking throughout this, why is he in the 2000s? If he's meant to be in 1976 or 2038, why is he here in 2000? What's going on? Well, he simply calls it personal reasons.
Just personal reasons.
Yeah.
Not going any further into it.
Well, yeah, he wanted to collect some belongings that he lost during the Civil War and his family, and he wanted to visit his family as well because they were there. He also mentioned that it was just a 4-month stopover, so during this time he could alert some people of some other things that would come around. This would include a threat called the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Now, that would be spread through beef products. So he was warning people about this potential disease that was going to happen. Apparently, there's going to be another American Civil War that was going to break out in 2004. So obviously those two didn't exist or didn't happen.
There was mad cow disease.
There was mad cow disease.
I don't know anything about mad cow disease or whether it was spread through beef, but
yeah, I don't know too much about that. That's a good point, though. But yeah, when he stopped over in 2001, he was actually living with his father and mother and himself as a 2-year-old at the time. so he was like 35 and he went in the 2000s with him as a 2-year-old and his parents who were also his age. So, and he makes it clear in his posts that you can't actually jump large amounts of time without causing huge issues. So he didn't want to mess up the timeline. So he would have to travel in small increments. So he would always stop over 2000s, kind of just to split it up a little bit. So that was another reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that sounds correct.
Yes, I know. I'm like, that, okay. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah. And yeah, people online have also questioned Titor on the UFO subject, which I would definitely be fucking doing. He mentions that in 2036 that there's still no answer as to what extraterrestrials are, but I know, but he believes personally that they are time travelers from a much, much further point in the future, and they have superior time machines. So that's what he says. This is a thought that I've had as
well. They're just time travelers, maybe.
Yes, yeah.
Visiting Earth.
I mean, it does make sense,
It does, yeah.
So what are his other predictions? Well, it's quite bleak, unfortunately. The Civil War breaking out in America. Now, that would actually section the country into 5 factions, leaving Omaha as the new capital. Instead of Washington. Yeah, Omaha.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. And in 2015, World War III will begin with a nuking war between Russia and America that will result in 3 billion people dead.
Ooh, wait, what year was that?
2015.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And of course, a computer virus. Now, we've just gotten over Y2K at this point because it's 2001. And now there's another threat. So, yeah, he's telling everyone, oh, no, don't you worry. There's another one coming.
There's something else.
Yeah. So a lot of people actually point this out as well. In 1998, he predicted Y2K, but it never happened. How does he fucking know the future? But then there's people that are saying, oh, no, but he's the one that stopped Y2K from happening. So he's actually doing us a favor. And it's like, yeah, but he didn't say he was going to stop it.
Yeah, and just because he's a time traveler doesn't mean that he's a fucking superhero.
Yeah.
That can stop but then he's got his IBM computer. So it's like...
So at this point, he's preventing something that hasn't happened yet on his timeline. So he would say that they are on different timelines. World lines, he would call them. So he didn't want to affect anything too much, but on his world line, that virus has not happened yet.
Okay.
So it's yeah. I'm going to leave it there. It's very confusing. But yeah, over the next 4 months, he would be answering everyone's questions on these forums. People would want to know their future, would want to know the lottery numbers. They would ask who won certain football games, all trying to prove if he was real, if he was really a time traveler. But he never provided any of those answers. First of all, he didn't know them. He mentions to them, okay, well, you tell me who won the game in 1983. Do you know what the lottery numbers were off by heart? Like,
yeah, who knows that shit?
he's like, oh, he was never trying to prove it to anyone. He's never tried to make it clear. He was just like,
he
look.
was just there to give information.
Yeah. So he's quite modest in that sense, but very open to everything at the same point, I guess. And yeah, he didn't want to give a lot of information out as well because he didn't want to change the future and he didn't want people to have a personal benefit of things, you know. He was only kind of doing things for the greater good, as he kind of put it. Yeah. He also mentions the grandfather paradox, which is a theory that if you were to travel back in time before your grandparents had their kids and killed them, that would prevent your own birth.
Right.
So to quote John Titor on this, the grandfather paradox is impossible. In fact, all paradox is impossible. The Everett Wheeler Graham or multiple world theory is correct. All possible quantum states, events, possibilities, and outcomes are real, eventual, and occurring. The chances of everything happening someplace at some time in the superverse is 100%. It's intense, hey?
No matter who this guy is, he's definitely smart.
He's very smart.
A very smart guy.
Very smart, yeah. So, yeah, I guess why can't time travel be real? It's such a great story. I really do want to believe it, even if a lot of the predictions didn't happen. But time travel is a term that nearly everyone knows at this point. And we know for sure that people are trying to achieve this. So down the track, someone must have come back to this point now if there was time traveling. Like, I feel like it definitely is going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And it's all obviously so much more complicated than, you know, what I've put forward here today.
Oh, yeah, you can tell there's just so much information behind this.
It's insane. So, yeah, I definitely encourage people, if you want to know more about this, you can. There's not really a place on the internet where you can read all of the posts. They've all been archived and taken down.
Right.
But they've been put into a book and it's just called John Titor, Time Traveler. There's so much heavy content in this and it's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I really want to get my hands on that book. I think that sounds so interesting just to read through everything that he said.
I think I need to as well because it's crazy and stuff I was reading.
Unique as well. What a different story. And I think it's interesting because we generally agree, I'm pretty sure, that like time travel could exist if we can figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
But we know how to make it happen, but we just don't have like the capability of doing it. So we know that
I believe it's already happening or it's going to happen. So therefore it's happening because if time travel is going to happen, then they're probably here now. Like,
time's a while.
That's a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, but what a smart, like, what an interesting story on every level. Like, even if this is true and this person is a time traveler, like, fucking hell, that's crazy. But also, as a potential hoax, what an amazing hoax. And to have it so heavily investigated,
so well thought out, everything is like crazy. But it's for such an intense and I guess well documented story, to think that no one's ever spoken to him on the phone. We don't know what his voice sounds like, we don't know what he looks like, we don't know anything about
and what Stephen Hawking not even, you know, being able to disprove this stuff, and you know, that's pretty wild within itself. And just, I guess, the way that he answers questions is also very fascinating.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite have like the taste of a hoax, but I suppose someone who is very, very smart could format it in that way to...
Yeah. It's the thing that throws me off as well is with his photos that he posts of the time travel machine. It's honestly just like, to me, it looks like a boot is open and he's just got like battery packs and shit all plugged together and stuff. But people have intensely looked at this and looked at it and gone, well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't look like bullshit. Like, it doesn't look like, oh, he's just plugged random shit in. Like, it looks like he's doing something. There's something happening here. Like, no one's been able to say anything about it.
The thing is, like, this is obviously such a well-known thing. There has to be somebody who recognizes this shit that he has in the boot of his car. Mm-hmm. If it was a bunch of junk just thrown together. And who knows, like, we have theories on, like, how to do time travel, but who's to say that there aren't other ways that we haven't thought of yet that do exist or could exist, I love that. I've never heard of it before. I've never heard of...
Thought you would like that one. It's a really interesting one.
So different.
It's thick. It's a real thick story, but
and it's like a real life thing.
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
Like we know that
it's real.
These conversations have happened, and this storyline has so to say, has played out. But yeah, my story is very different to yours.
Love it. As always, it's good.
As always, we're always on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and we just kiss in the middle.
I know, it's great. Works out well.
I'm just going to jump straight into it. I feel so strange going into mine now because it's just so different to yours. But I'm just going to do it, okay? So, it was gaunt to the point of emaciation.
Oh, for fuck's sake, my whole face just dropped.
Just bear with me.
Jesus Christ.
This is a very, very dark story. Okay.
I'll try not to laugh.
Gaunt. Okay. Yeah, you can't laugh.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It was gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing tightly out against its skin, its complexion the ash grey of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. It looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from the suppurations of the flesh. It gave a strange and eerie odour of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. So, a very heavy start to my story this week, but this is a quote from Ojibwe teacher and scholar Basil Johnston. He's describing the main creature of my story tonight, and my story tonight is going to be about the horrifying and the terrifying, the Wendigo.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
Lore
cryptids. Oh my god.
I didn't know whether to call it a cryptid or a monster or a creature. Or
I mean, I just call. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really even looked too much into the Wendigo. I just kind of.
Me neither. Not until this, because everyone talks about the Skinwalker.
Yes, yeah,
and not often about the Wendigo. But before I go into specifics of the Wendigo, I want to tell you one of the most well-known and earliest detailed stories we have of an apparent Wendigo encounter, just to kind of set the scene on just how horrible this thing is. So strap yourself in. There was once a man whose name was Ka Ki, who was also known as Swift Runner. He was a man from the Cree tribe during the 1800s in northern Alberta, Canada. And Swift Runner was a very popular man within his community. He was extremely able He was a very strong man that towered over 6 foot tall, and he really provided his community with a lot of valuable contributions physically. Due to his capabilities and experience, he was eventually employed as a guard by the Northwest Mounted Police, as they had heard stories about how strong and how fast he was. Over the years, Swift Runner slowly and unfortunately fell into alcoholism. There's no real explanation or details on this other than the fact that his drink of choice was whiskey. Despite his decency when sober, Swift Runner was a very angry and emotionally charged drinker, which ultimately led to his dismissal within the Northwest Mounties, as well as being eventually completely cut off from his community.
Oh, man.
His tribal community.
Yeah.
So all of this is happening around the time of late fall of 1879. When he was forcefully removed from his community, he decided to take his wife and his family of 6 children with him and relocate them into the isolated forests of northern Alberta. For a while, they survived okay, alone in the wilderness, as they had supplies, and they were, to a degree, prepared for the cold weather and the harshness of the land. Then winter came along hard and fast, and things started to go downhill very quickly for the family. They had run out of supplies, and the temperatures were dropping so low, and there was no food anywhere. They were steadily losing hope that they were going to survive the winter, and eventually the first death of one of the family members came. Swift Runner's eldest son, he didn't survive, and he experienced a very brutal and cold, drawn-out death from starvation.
God.
Yeah, it was over, a span of months.
Oh my God, wow.
They were, yeah. And you'd expect that Swift Runner would be pretty upset by this. But in fact, it kind of had quite the opposite effect.
Oh.
This actually inspired him to kill his wife and 5 remaining children and consume all of their bodies.
Oh my God.
Yes, so quite a jump
Wow.
through the story.
The eldest son inspiring the father.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they were all on the brink of starvation and death, and eat them all, just munch them all up. Yeah. It's now May of 1879, so still the same year. And after months of being in the wilderness, Swift Runner is found staggering out of the rugged forest into a nearby Catholic mission, crying for help. When people of the mission came to his aid, he explained that his whole family had died after they had starved to death out in the wilderness. This was immediately suspect to the people of the mission, as Swift Runner looked extremely healthy and not emaciated at all, and they wondered how the rest of the family starved to death. Literally, yeah. And he just stayed relatively healthy and well fed by the looks of things. Over the next few weeks, while staying in the local town, right where the Catholic mission was, Swift Runner would wake up every night at midnight, claiming that he was being plagued with constant, terrifying nightmares every single night. Not long after this started to happen, one day he was found attempting to lure a group of children into the same part of the forest he was seen first emerging from before he came to the mission. This was the final straw on a haystack of suspicions of Swift Runner and what had happened to his family as well. And of course, the main suspicion being that he did indeed eat his family out in the forest. He was ordered to show the people where his camp had been and what remained of his family for the sake of proving his innocence. Swift Runner didn't put up much of a fight, and he led the group straight to where his camp was without hesitation at all.
Honest man.
He was an honest man. There are some stories that he purposely led them around for days and days just in circles, but most sources say no. He just took him straight there. So when the group came upon Swift Runner's campsite after trekking through the forest for days, they came across a truly horrifying scene. There were piles and piles of bones. Some of them broken and hollowed out, like someone had sucked the marrow clean through. And, yeah, so this guy loves
bones.
The bones and the eating people.
Yeah. Oh.
And, yeah, so the group's suspicions were truly confirmed when a pot of boiled human fat was found in his campsite.
Would that smell like bacon fat, do you reckon?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, what's he cooking? And then they're like, oh, wait,
fatty
what the
goodness.
fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. I know it has I know human has a pretty distinct smell. I think it's supposed to be, I've heard it's supposed to be like pretty distinct.
Okay.
So, but that's not to say that it doesn't smell good.
Yeah.
Swift Runner straight away claimed that when he and his family were in the forest, he had been possessed by the evil spirit of the Wendigo, and repeated the same defense at his trial, trying endlessly again, attempting to convince the others of his possession by the Wendigo. But nobody believed him, and after only 20 minutes, he was found guilty. And he was hanged on that same day on December of 1879.
Wow, quick with the hanging. Now they draw it out these days, don't they?
Oh, like years and years and years. Yeah. So this is absolutely a 100% true story. There are records and also photos to go along with this piece of history.
Wow, really?
Oh, yeah, including photos of the remains of Swift Runner's family. So this is not just a cautionary tale of the Wendigo. This actually happened. Yeah, there's photos of Swift Runner, the whole shebang. This is probably one of the most well-known stories involving an apparent Wendigo possession. But the evil being, this evil creature, goes way deeper than just possessing humans and making them do bad things. So what is a Wendigo? It's actually kind of hard to precisely pin down what a Wendigo is, as there's a few different recounts of what people have seen, and it varies from Wendigo to Wendigo as well.
Okay.
There's even different spelling and variations on the name, which change from area to area and tribe to tribe. And in a way, it's very similar to the Skinwalker. It also originates from the indigenous people of America and Canada, specifically the Algonquian people. And the Algonquian people, it covers a large area of America, like a large amount of tribes throughout America and Canada.
I actually saw that yesterday. I saw a map of America where it was just of the local, like all of the tribes, which, you know, it was separated like that instead of the states. And the Algonquian people, we mentioned quite a bit, I think just because of, you know, folklore and stuff. But that, they take up such a large part of
a huge area. Well, because the Algonquian, it's not just one tribe. There's like Cree, there's I think like Ojibwe, maybe
so they're all
actually that
within
might not be right,
the Algonquin tribe.
Yeah, so the Algonquin is like a language group.
Oh, okay, got you, all right.
Yeah, and that encompasses a whole bunch of different tribes. And it does span from America through to Canada. So it is like a very large area.
That makes sense.
So, although descriptions of the Wendigo vary here and there, they can all agree that the Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic, and evil supernatural spirit. It's always very strongly associated with winter, coldness, starvation, emaciation, and famine, cannibalism, and decay and death as well. So just a real bad boy.
Yeah.
Real bad boy. The Wendigo is not just one creature or a group of creatures. A Wendigo is created when a human has a moment of either greed or weakness. And also, a Wendigo will prey on people during times of famine. So it's a spirit who will find someone who is absolutely desperate, starving, emaciated, and would do anything for food and sustenance. Someone who is experiencing indescribable hunger, and the Wendigo will inhabit that person to create a cannibalistic and brutal monster, if that makes sense. So they prey on someone who is obviously starving and, in famine and emaciation and just needs sustenance and food, and the Wendigo kind of possesses that person and creates this evil creature. Once you're inhabited by the Wendigo, you will very soon acquire an intense craving for human flesh that will never be satisfied, no matter how much you eat. Even if you are eating, lots of human flesh.
6 of your children and
6 of your children and your wife. Oh, yeah, you're still champing at the bit. So there's 2 perceptions of what a Wendigo looks like, and from what I could find, it mostly depends on where you see the Wendigo as to what it looks like. One description of the Wendigo is an emaciated, bony, and impossibly thin, disgusting creature that has a human-like head that you can see its skull and bones protruding through the ash-coloured skin. Oh, yes. Horrifying fucking creature. Its eyes are said to be just deep black cavernous holes, or sometimes they've been seen as burning hot embers. Its lips are rotten and chewed away, sometimes seen as bloody thin masses.
oh my god, that's so gross. Okay.
Yeah, so specifically it's seen with its lips as being like chewed.
Sounds like a zombie. Like,
It's almost like a zombie, yeah, but like more terrifying as well. Because you'll find out soon. I'll explain why it's more terrifying. But yeah, it is quite zombie-like. It has long, bony arms and legs with sharp, deadly claws on the end of its thin fingers. It's pretty much always said that its breath smells like rotting and decay, and you can smell it from really far away. The other version of the Wendigo is, again, a very tall creature, but this one has the head of a stag on an emaciated human body.
that's what I've seen.
Yes, I think this is the more common depiction of a Wendigo is the stag head with big antlers. Yeah, exactly. So antlers. It has huge antlers sprouting from its head, and it has a long pointed tongue with yellowed, sharp teeth. Same as the first version, you can smell this guy from a mile away, and he just smells of decay and death, which is basically everything that this creature embodies. Death and decay.
Yeah.
Both of these versions of the Wendigo are incredibly tall, between 4 and 5 meters tall. Very tall boy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's really tall, and
That's so fucking scary. I did not think it was going to be that big. Okay.
yeah, I didn't realize it was that
like
big
just
either.
an average height of a human.
No, very tall. And then if you've got antlers on top of that as well.
Oh, true.
It's said that one of the possibilities as to why it grows so tall is because every time it feeds, it grows in proportion to the size of the meal it just ate, which leads it to constantly be so deathly thin and starving, craving meat. It's impossible for the creature to ever eat its fill because it's ever growing every time it feeds on a human. It's also known that every Wendigo has a heart made of ice, and I will get into this a little bit more later, but its heart is very important if you want to destroy a Wendigo.
Okay.
It also has extra human strength and speed too.
Oh, of course.
Of course it
Why
fucking
not?
does. Yeah, why not, to add on to everything else? With pretty much nothing getting in the way of its ever-ending hunger. They also have extremely heightened hearing, which means that they can pick up on a human's elevated heartbeat from miles away.
Ooh.
But what is even more terrifying than this is its ability to mimic other people's voices. This is apparently how it lures you in, by mimicking the voices of your loved ones, and it will often mimic them crying for help and crying your name or screaming in pain.
Yeah, very similar to the
Yep,
Skinwalker.
exactly. This is so similar to the Skinwalker, who doesn't quite mimic your loved ones but can produce the sound only of its last victim, who is often crying for
That's
help.
right, yeah. Oh, God.
Which is what lures you in, making you think that someone is out in the forest in danger. So that is very similar with slight differences, you know.
Yeah.
When it's time for a Wendigo to hunt, the game is well and truly on. It will upend large trees. It will create animal stampedes, and it's even said that it has the ability to create snow and ice storms just to slow down its victims. And if you think you're safe from a Wendigo while indoors, think again. It is able to not just break through and into a house, but it is able to unlock and open doors.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yep.
Lock-picking fingers.
With its long, talony fingers, yeah. It doesn't end there. Even more terrifyingly, once inside the house, it will kill and eat its prey and then turn that house into a nest for hibernation. So it'll take over your fucking house just to rub salt in that wound. Because of all these characteristics, it's near impossible to escape a Wendigo. And even if you do manage to escape, it's said that you will absolutely be mentally destroyed for the rest of your life by what you've seen. And there's no escaping the mental turmoil that you will be plagued with, including constant nightmares, hallucinations, amongst many other things that you will have to live with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Though, if you were in the business of attempting to hunt or kill a Wendigo, this is almost impossible. But if you somehow do manage to catch up to the monster, despite its incredible speed and impeccable hide-and-seek skills, the way to kill a Wendigo would be to capture it, cut it open with a silver blade and remove its heart, which is made of ice, shatter it and melt the shards of ice in a red-hot fire.
Oh, doable. Okay.
Well, there's more.
Yep.
Simply just removing and destroying its heart is not enough to rid yourself of a Wendigo. You must also dismember it, again with preferably a silver-plated axe or blade,
Oh, my God.
in which afterwards you have to salt and burn the flesh, which you then must scatter the remaining ashes into the wind. Skip any of these steps and the hunted Wendigo may be able to resurrect itself.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. All the steps. But even after you've completed these steps, you haven't really, truly gotten rid of the Wendigo, as it's believed that the Wendigo truly exists in the form of an evil spirit, which will inhabit the body of its next victim, a victim that is hungry and desperate for food and comfort, and that is the victim that will slowly transform into this putrid creature. So even if you destroy this creature, its true form is in the spirit that possesses others anyway, so you can't really
oh my God, yes, no point. It's
no
point.
Here to stay. Yeah, it's here to stay. So same as the skinwalker, as much as the Wendigo is a fully physical being that is believed to be in the wilderness of America and Canada, it is also used as a symbolic tool for Indigenous communities. When the skinwalker represents evilness and greed, the Wendigo is a cautionary tale for tribes that exist in really harsh conditions as to what happens when you lose sight of togetherness and community.
Right.
In areas such as northern Alberta and other Algonquin tribal areas, it's imperative to work together as a community to make sure that everyone is looked after and that you're working as a single unit.
Yeah.
Because the weather conditions are so harsh, especially in the winter months, a community would just fall apart if selfishness or greed was to get in the way of that. You really just need to work as a team. It's basically a way to discourage disharmony and selfishness within the tribes, as their existence relies on togetherness.
Yeah.
It's also said that, just like the skinwalker, saying the Wendigo's name out loud invites it into your life. So I guess now we're a bit screwed. So that's the terrifying Wendigo.
That is really... I didn't really know anything about the Wendigo, which is pretty weird. But you know what? I think I'd be more comfortable saying monster instead of cryptid. You're right. I don't feel like that.
Yeah. It doesn't just fully fit that cryptid template, you know. It definitely seems... So with the Skinwalker is absolutely a physical thing that is accepted that it exists, whereas the Wendigo does seem slightly more mythical.
Yeah.
But there are like many you know, like apparently true stories of people encountering
right, yeah. So
a Wendigo.
My next question, like, so I guess there's other encounters of people seeing it.
Yeah, there are stories, but they're not as I don't know, I feel funny saying they're not as solid as a Skinwalker story because I haven't grown up with stories of like the Wendigo or the Skinwalker as like cautionary tales or anything like that, or you know, that kind of thing. But just in terms of stories that are told, like compared to the Skinwalker definitely seems more of like an accepted physical
absolutely
thing.
Yeah. No, I've seen that as well. The Wendigo's really fucking creepy.
Pretty terrifying.
I didn't know that story, that like of how it kind of all began, I guess. The first kind of...
Yep, the first like kind of...
First official story that kind of locked it in. And that's really crazy. I am very interested to see the pictures.
It's pretty wild. Like, there's photos of...
Because what was 1800s?
1800s, yeah. It was like late 1800s, so like 1870s, I think. Yeah, so pretty cool that there were photos from back then. But yeah, there's photos of Swift Runner and there's photos of like the bones and that kind of thing. So, and the photo, we'll post it on, you know, socials and stuff, but the photo of Swift Runner, it's pretty striking because it's him kind of in the middle of like the black and white picture, and there's a guard or like an officer next to him, but it's snowing. And so just Oh, I don't know. Can't really
Is
describe
the
it
photo of
that
him
well.
like when they, like before all of this happened, or is this like when he's
I
at the
think
courthouse?
he isn't, I don't think he's at a courthouse. I think it is after he was arrested though. After they had like found his camp and everything. Yeah, so because I think he might be in shackles. I'm pretty sure he's in like
Yeah, right. Okay. And I
chains.
guess in the 1800s, like having a camera was rare. Like you're not just going to
So
take a
rare.
photo of some rando.
So, two very fun and interesting stories this week. I really loved your story. I
Thank
really, really
you.
loved it. It's
Thank
just,
you. I wasn't sure if I should do it or not because I was like, I feel like this is like, I mean, I could literally spend like 3 hours talking about it. I mean, I'm glad. I hope you all understood it enough, but definitely
yeah.
go and find out more if you want to
Yeah.
look into it more. And I love Jules as well. I'm so glad you covered a creepy one. That was
Yeah,
super
yeah.
fucking scary.
Like definitely spent a bunch of time waiting to do it after like the Skinwalker because I didn't want to do them like too close together. But yeah, if you want to support us, you can find us on Patreon. We also have the Buy Me a Coffee, which is just a one-off donation as well. Or you can just follow us on social media. That's also a great way of supporting us.
Yeah, very. That would be a great way if you could share us as well. Just let a friend know that you're listening to us.
Yeah.
And also, we're next episode is going to be a super fun one. It's our Valentine's one, and it's a drunk as
Right.
fuck.
It's going to be a really cute Valentine's Day one. So you can you'll be able to watch the video if you're on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, you just get the boring old audio episode. So you better sign up to
You can
Patreon
imagine what we look like because we'll
yeah,
dress up.
while we're drunk.
Yeah, while we're super drunk. But yeah, check out our Patreon. There's lots of fun stuff on there. Yeah, and thanks again for listening, everyone. And we'll speak to you next week.
We'll speak to you then. Bye bye. This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.